Welcome to Mob Label, where we serve you with authentic news, stories, documentaries, updates, and modern-style insights on our society and the larger world, and more importantly, about places that fall under the radar of the mainstream media machinery. We invite you to embark on this exciting journey of enlightenment with us. Mob Label, your vehicle of enlightenment.
The life of Francis Adekunkle Fajuyi, a Nigerian soldier from Ekiti State, who was the first military governor of the former western region of Nigeria, was of bravery and enviable leadership skills. From modest beginnings in Ado-Ekiti to the highest circles of military command, Fajuyi's journey was shaped by discipline, courage, and unwavering sense of honor, qualities that ultimately defined both his life and his death. Fajuyi was not born into privilege, nor was he raised with the expectation that his name would one day be etched into Nigeria's history. He was born on 26 June 1926 in Ado-Ekiti, a quiet town nestled in the hills of what is today called Ekiti State, Nigeria. At the time, Ado-Ekiti was part of colonial Nigeria, far removed from the corridors of imperial power, yet rich in culture, discipline, and communal values. Fajuyi was born into a Yoruba family deeply grounded in the ethics of honor, respect for authority, courage, and loyalty to one's word. These values were not abstract ideas in his upbringing. They were lived daily through communal responsibility, obedience to elders, and the expectation that a man's integrity was worth more than his life. Those early cultural foundations would later define the most important decision he ever made. Early life and humble beginnings. Before the uniform, before the medals, and before the barracks, Adekunle Fajuyi lived the life of an ordinary Nigerian youth. He was educated locally and, like many young men of his generation, began his working life as a teacher and clerk. Teaching instilled in him clarity of thoughts and communication, while clerical work sharpened his attention to detail and organizational discipline. Those were not glamorous roles, but they shaped his character. In 1943, as World War II reached across Europe and Asia, colonial Nigeria became a recruitment ground for the British war effort. Young men were drawn into the Royal West African Frontier Force RWAFF, the military structure through which Britain mobilized African soldiers. Adekunle Fajuyi enlisted in the Nigeria Signal Squadron of the RAF. This decision marked a turning point not just in his life, but in the story of Nigeria's indigenous military leadership. The signals units required intelligence, discipline, and technical competence. Fajuyi quickly distinguished himself as a soldier who combined firmness with fairness. By 1951, he had risen to the rank of sergeant. That year, a serious issue broke out within his units over food rations, an issue that could easily have spiraled into chaos. Fajuyi confronted the situation with courage and restraint. He restored order without unnecessary brutality, demonstrating leadership under pressure. For this act, he was awarded the British Empire Medal (BEM), a rare honor for an African non-commissioned officer at the time. The award marked him out as a man to watch, someone whose leadership transcended rank. Colonial authorities soon recognized that Fajuyi possessed exceptional potential. In 1954, he was selected for officer training at the Eton Hall Officer Candidate School in the United Kingdom, one of the most prestigious military training institutions available to colonial troops. In Britain, Fajuyi was exposed to modern military doctrine, strategic thinking, and command responsibility. He trained alongside officers who would later occupy senior positions in the post-colonial armies. His performance confirmed what his superiors already suspected. He was leadership material. In November 1954, Adekunkle Fajuyi was commissioned as a short service officer, becoming one of the early generation of Nigerian officers preparing to inherit command from British expatriates. Fajuyi's defining military achievements came during the United Nations peacekeeping mission in the Congo in the early 1960s. The Congo crisis was one of the most complex and dangerous international conflicts of the Cold War era, involving secessionist movements, machineries, and foreign powers. In 1961, Fajuyi commanded C Company of the 4th Battalion, Queen's Own Nigerian Regiment, under Lieutenant Colonel Price. During operations in North Katanga, his unit walked into a deadly ambush. In the face of confusion and enemy fire, Fajuyi displayed extraordinary calm and tactical brilliance. He recognized his men under fire, repelled the attackers, and successfully withdrew his company with minimal casualties. His actions saved lives and preserved Nigeria's reputation within the UN mission. For this gallantry, Adekunkle Fajuyi was awarded the Military Cross, one of the highest British decorations for bravery. He became one of the very few African officers to receive this honor, elevating him as a symbol of Nigerian professionalism on the international stage. After the Congo mission, Fajuyi's career advanced rapidly. He was appointed the first indigenous commander of the 1st Battalion in Enugu, a landmark moment in Nigeria's military history, at a time when colonial officers were still being phased out. Later, he was posted to Abeokuta as garrison commander, placing him in a strategically sensitive region. By the mid-1960s, Nigeria was politically unstable and the military increasingly found itself drawn into governance. Following the 15 January 1966 military coup, which ended the First Republic, Major General Johnson Aguiyi-Ironsi emerged as Nigeria's head of state, seeking capable and respected officers to stabilize the country. Ironsi appointed Adekunkle Fajuyi as the first military governor of the Western region on 17 January 1966. The Western region was then scarred by political violence, mistrust, and ethnic polarization. Fajuyi governed with restraint, discipline, and empathy. Though his tenure was brief, he was widely regarded as firm but fair, approachable yet authoritative. On the 29th July 1966, Nigeria descended into chaos once again. Northern officers staged a counter-coup driven by resentment over the January coup and the deaths of northern leaders. That night in Ibadan, Fajuyi hosted Head of State Aguiyi-Ironsi at Government House. Mutinous soldiers led by Major T.Y. Danjuma stormed the residence. Fajuyi was reportedly offered a chance to step aside to save his life, but he refused. In a moment that would define his legacy forever, Adekunkle Fajuyi chose loyalty over survival. He insisted that if Ironsi was to be taken, he would go with him. Both men were abducted and brutally murdered. Fajuyi was only 40 years old. After his assassination, Adekunkle Fajuyi was buried in Ibadan, the city where he served and died. His burial was solemn, heavy with grief, and symbolic of a nation mourning not just a man, but an ideal honor in leadership. Back home in Ado-Ekiti, his people ensured that his name would never fade. The Fajuyi Memorial Park, located near the heart of the town, not far from the governor's office, stands today as a living monument in his sacrifice. The park is more than a recreation space. It is a site of memory. Statues, inscriptions, and the very naming of the park serve as daily reminders that Ado-Ekiti produced a man who chose principle over life itself. Adekunkle Fajuyi matters because his life confronts Nigeria with uncomfortable questions. What does loyalty truly mean? Can leadership exist without self-interest? Is national unity worth personal sacrifice? In an era often defined by betrayal and opportunism, Fajuyi's story stands apart. He did not write manifestos. He did not seek power. He simply lived and died by his values. He remains a symbol of ethnic unity, military honor, and moral courage. And in Ado-Ekiti, Nigeria, and beyond, the name Adekunkle Fajuyi endures etched not just in stone, but in history itself.
Thanks for watching us today and for joining us on our journey of enlightenment. Mogmebo, the vehicle of enlightenment.